Hey, howdy y'all, it's Angie at Whiskey Woman Whisk. I am going to be putting together a chocolate bourbon pecan pie cupcakes with a butter pecan frosting. So we're gonna first get some pecans toasted up, and then I'm gonna bring y'all along while we make these yummy cupcakes. We're gonna make cupcakes, but they're gonna have a yummy filling, and they're gonna be like a combination between chocolate cupcakes and pecan pie with a yummy frosting. So y'all come along, let's make something yummy. Okay, the first thing we're gonna do is get our pecans seasoned up for roasting those in the oven real quick. So we're gonna need about a teaspoon of vanilla. Go a little extra because I'll probably make a little extra pecans because they're delicious. Okay, and then we need about a couple of tablespoons of bourbon. So 2 and a smidge of bourbon. And then we need some brown sugar. Oh, about 3 tablespoons. This is 3 tablespoons. I'm using my half tablespoon measuring. Okay, and then we need some cinnamon, about a teaspoon and a half. Of cinnamon. And that is it, y'all. Give that a good stir. If you really like nutmeg, you could put that in here too. If you have a spice blend, that would be good too. We need about 3 cups of whole pecans. These are straight out of my freezer. Let's see, we've probably got about 2 cups here. Get out another bag. Like I said, I'm making a few extras to munch on. So 3 and a, yeah, I'll just toss it and try to get those coated. These are good just to make, even if you're not making the cupcakes. They're just delicious. Now, give it a little sprinkle of salt. I don't know, that's probably like a 1/4 of a teaspoon maybe. Don't go crazy, this is dessert. Now the ones that aren't going in your recipe, the ones we're just going to munch on, after you bake them, go ahead and pull those out and to the side and give them another sprinkle of salt after they've baked. Okay, if you're using a regular metal cookie sheet, you might want to line it with some parchment paper. This is a very, as you can tell, very seasoned stone, so I usually don't have problems with things sticking too much. We're just going to spread them out. My oven is preheated at 350. We're just going to keep a good eye on them, let them get a little toasted. Really watch them though, that alcohol and sugar will cause them to burn if you don't watch out. So really keep an eye on them. If your stove runs a little hot, drop the temperature down to 325. But it'll take about 10 minutes or less. All right, let's pop them in the oven. Okay, y'all, when you pull them out of the oven, let them cool just a couple of minutes, and they'll sound kind of crunchy, you know, but not burned. And you're gonna want to let these completely cool. But if you were bad and you made a few little extras, go ahead and eat them while they're warm. Not hot, because you'll burn your mouth on them. But while they're warm, because this is the good stuff, y'all. Do this when your family's not home. Unless you want to double the recipe, because your house smells good and they taste so good. Anyway, there's our toasted pecans. After they completely cool, we're gonna set aside some for the top of the frosted cupcakes. So we'll pull out these whole ones, about 20, 22, and then the rest we'll give it a good chop. So, there's our toasted, yummy, bourbon seasoned pecans. Okay, we've got our liners in. Let's start making our cupcakes. And the oven is preheated to 350. Okay, first we're going to add in a cup of coconut oil melted. Cup of coffee. Half a cup of bourbon. 2 eggs at room temperature. 2/3 cup of sour cream, sugar. Let's just get that mixed up. Once our batter is good and smooth, we're going to start filling these cupcake liners. You should fill 22 to 24. I'm using the large scoop from Pampered Chef, and that helps me get that to between half and 3/4 full. And then pop those in at 350 for about 20 minutes. Check that they're done with a toothpick inserted, and then lay them out to cool. Okay, let's get to making this yummy filling for our cupcakes. You're going to need to add a tablespoon of water to a medium-sized pot, and then we're going to add in our 4 room temperature egg yolks. You're just going to give that a good whisk and get that as smooth as you possibly can. Then you're going to add your cornstarch. A 1/4 cup is going to give you a thicker, more praline-like filling, and just under a 1/4 cup is going to help that be just a little bit looser, not quite as stiff. Okay, so whisk that cornstarch in really smooth, and you're gonna add your syrup and your brown sugar. Then you're gonna whisk those in really good and get that smooth. Then we're gonna turn our temperature on to medium, because you're gonna wanna bring this up to like a simmer, very low boil, and we're gonna just keep whisking that until we get it really good and thickened up. So we're going to continue whisking this and let it get good and thick. It should take about 4 to 5 minutes. And then after we reach that point, we're going to strain it through a fine mesh strainer just to make sure there's no clumps, bits of egg or cornstarch that clumped up. So just kind of mash that through a fine mesh strainer and get you a good, nice, smooth filling. And that's when we're going to add in our vanilla. Stir that up, mix it in pretty good, and then we're going to toss in those chopped pecans. Stir that in. Look how yummy that is. Now pop it in the fridge. Let that cool for about an hour while we start on our frosting. Okay, let's get started on this yummy butter pecan frosting. You're going to need to put in 4 tablespoons of butter in a small to medium pot. And to that you're going to add 1 cup of brown sugar, and then you're also going to add in 1/2 cup of heavy cream. Just going to give that a good stir. You're going to heat that up until your sugar gets good and melted, and then just pour it into your stand mixer bowl or whatever bowl you're going to be mixing your frosting in. You're going to set that in the fridge to cool. So while that beginnings of our frosting is cooling, you're going to want to go ahead and start taking that center piece out of the middle of your cupcake. Don't go all the way to the bottom. Just kind of cut a hole out, and that is where we're going to put our filling in. Make sure before you start cutting these that they are completely cooled, because that's going to give you a better cut. And so now we're going to start putting that yummy pecan pie filling in. So you can see, you'll figure out what works for you. I'm using a spoon and then a knife to just kind of push it down into the cupcake. And that will just set up here in a few minutes. While you're putting your frosting together, it'll kind of solidify just a little bit more in your cupcakes. So y'all comment below and let me know, what is your favorite part? If you were doing a 3-piece cupcake like this. I love fillings. I don't know why. I just love to put the filling inside of the cupcake. I don't know if it's just the methodical process or if it's the knowing there's that surprise when somebody bites into it or what. But like some people hate this part, but then they love to really do that beautiful frosting on top. Mine, I just get it done. But some people are so talented at that. Okay, let's get to making that frosting. I pulled my chilled bowl that has that butter sugar mixture that we did out of the refrigerator, and I'm putting that into my stand mixer, and we're going to start adding in our other ingredients. So to our chilled butter mixture, we're going to be adding the rest of our room temperature butter, so that's 12 more tablespoons of butter. You're going to start whipping that together and add in your bourbon vanilla and also your 3 cups of powdered sugar. So once you get the powdered sugar all whipped into nice smooth frosting, you'll want to stir in your really finely chopped pecans, and how much you put in is totally a preference. I personally liked about a 1/2 cup of those fine chopped pecans because we're going to be adding pecans to the top anyway. So just a few little tips. If you don't want the alcohol to be in your frosting, go ahead and add the bourbon when you're heating up your cream, butter, sugar mixture that we put in the refrigerator. That will cook off any alcohol in that bourbon. But also, if you want it to have a little more bourbon kick, you can definitely add more than 1 tablespoon of that bourbon vanilla, or just add a little bit of straight bourbon into your frosting as you're mixing it up. So, depending on how warm your kitchen is at this point, you'll have to determine how you're going to be frosting it, if you're putting it in a piping bag. if it's too soft, you'll need to pop that into the fridge for a little bit, which I had to do as I was baking a lot of things today. So pop it in the fridge, get it in your piping bag, and get ready to start frosting, putting these beautiful cupcakes together. So y'all, thank God for toppings and sprinkles, because frosting is not my best talent, but they taste so good that it doesn't even matter. And just sprinkle pecans and stuff on top, and then it looks pretty. So get them frosted, top them with some really chopped up pecans that we toasted up earlier, and top it with one of those halves. Thanks for hanging out with me. I hope you'll give these a try. They do have a lot of steps, but man, are they good. Let me show you the filling, which, I mean, right now it's kind of cold because I popped them into the fridge, but you just cut some of that chocolate cupcake. Hey, and you know what? To skip a step, go semi-homemade. Just use a chocolate cupcake recipe and do the cupcakes. Cut your center out and then do this filling. It's like pralines. It's so good, very good. There was some left in the bowl and I ate it. Anyway, thanks for hanging out with me. I appreciate y'all. And don't forget, y'all have a good one, because I'm gonna. Yummy, yummy.